for SpongeBob SquarePants, every workday at the Krusty Krab is a special day.
You got that right, Frenchie. We're roughly a month away from the launch of SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide, and for the first time ever, a Purple Lamp developed SpongeBob game received a public demo for anyone to download and try, whereas with Rehydrated and Cosmic Shake, they were only demoed at places like PAX and Gamescom, so only content creators and the press were able to play a portion of those games early. I was not one of them, and I don't want to talk about it. This time though, everyone has the chance to experience the opening hour or so of the game. THQ Nordic was kind enough to send the demo over to me a few days early, and if you want to check it out for yourself, be sure to check out the links in the description below. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell for more spongy content heading your way, cause we ain't stopping at this demo. Thanks to THQ Nordic for giving me the opportunity to play it and give my thoughts on it. I've been very excited to play this game since before it was even announced, so yeah, let's dive in. What the heck is happening here? What did Patrick just fall into? Doesn't matter. It was hilarious the first time it happened because of how unexpected it was combined with the scream. Upon booting up the demo and... all of this music, hold on a second. I was not expecting this mix of epic and spooky for the title screen music. The spooky aspect, yes, but not the other aspects. As we went from the show's theme song and Rehydrated, to licensed music I can't even play from Cosmic Shake, to now this. And I love it. If I'm not mistaken, the same composers returned from Cosmic Shake, who also worked on BFBB, and I thoroughly enjoyed the music in the demo. Even the recycled Bikini Bottom Hub World track from Cosmic Shake made it into the game as a remix for this game's Hub World. I'll talk more about that later, but right now there's a bit in the title screen music that I wanted to highlight. Why the heck does this sound like something I would hear in Danny Phantom? I'm sorry, but from what I've seen of this game so far, I cannot help but feel like the team's practically begging to make a Danny Phantom game. Please let us do it, we beg of you! From the change in lighting during certain ghost encounters, to the overall spectral green atmosphere of the game, and the non-enemy specters in certain areas of the opening level, I understand it's because of a Flying Dutchman, but still, I really do feel like this team could nail a 3D Danny Phantom game easy. And with Danny Phantom still retaining popularity to the point his show was quite literally the main focus of Nick Brawl 2's campaign, people were even getting excited that he was reuniting with the original Nicktoons Unite squad again in Dice of Destiny, and there's 2 graphic novels that continue where the show left off. I personally loved A Glitch in Time and very much look forward to the sequel. So Purple Lamp alongside Black Forest Games, who by the way did help with this game, and are also doing the TMNT Last Ronin game that I'm also looking forward to, it could very well be their epic Mickey in between SpongeBob games. Though sadly, it probably won't happen unless a revival film or show or something happens. And even then, Invader Zim and a few other Nicktoons did get revived a few years ago, and nothing else happened. Except for a new wish for the Fairly OddParents last year, though even that is in a state of limbo. But anyway, this is probably my favorite main menu of any SpongeBob game, period. It's just a lot more interesting with a lot more things going on, like some of the enemies we'll encounter throughout the game, though this crab one doesn't appear in the demo. Okay, enough of me praising the main menu, let's get into the actual game. We open up with probably one of the best intro cutscenes in a SpongeBob game. Opening narration by Frenchie in the vein of a classic SpongeBob episode, showing Bikini Bottom from a distance. It's beautifully animated, as these cutscenes are a major step up from Cosmic Shake. I already went over this detail in the previous Titans video, but what I didn't get to talk about, cause the Gamescom footage happened pretty last minute, so I was rushing to get as much as I could into that video. but every cutscene has a completely different setup compared to the previous two games. It's kinda hard to describe, as they're all framed as if they were shots from the actual cartoon, having all the main characters of the scene in focus on the same depth of field. And even the in-game character dialogues follow the same setup. Instead of following the route of previous SpongeBob games and traditional 3D platformers, where the camera tends to focus on one character at a time, now it's everybody. But this is where my first issue with the demo comes in, and I might as well go ahead and get the negatives out of the way right now. For some reason, and maybe this is a PC issue, or maybe I'm just dumb and don't have a certain setting turned up to epic, I don't know. But almost every in-game dialogue has this weird pixelation around the characters. It only seems to happen with these and not the main animated cutscenes for whatever reason. I couldn't set everything to epic cause my PC simply could not handle it, resulting in some major cutscene pop-in that I did not record. I also experienced some frame rate drops in the second level when having everything set to 1080p high at 60 frames per second. Again, it could simply be a PC issue, but it's pretty strange considering I can run Sonic Racing Crossworlds without issue. For whatever reason, this demo is an issue. Strangely, there wasn't any voice desyncing aside from the intro cutscene to the hub world, but it seemed to correct itself partway through. When entering and leaving an interior, the selected character will start walking to the right automatically. I don't think this is an issue with my controller, cause it's brand new, it has not been dropped, and I know for a fact it's not my controller. Because this happens in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and I've heard other people having the exact same issue. Auto-progressing dialogue does not return, but hey, they did address the gross-up complaint I had in the last video, where they don't follow the same auto-progression rule. Now they start and end in the same line of dialogue. The absence of auto-progressing dialogue isn't an issue, it's just a minor nitpick for me. Now the lack of control customization that I'm sure the full game will have, that felt like an issue. Because now that air dodging is a thing, a very welcome addition by the way, the slam button for SpongeBob is now on the triggers, which is very weird coming from the past two games. It feels perfectly fine for Patrick cause that's also the burrow move, and the character swapping is on the L1 button. Okay, but why couldn't this be on L2? I don't know, it just feels like the right place to put it. Simple abilities like double jumping aren't available from the get-go, and are instead unlocked in the tutorial. This one's only strange cause every other SpongeBob game and platformer allowed you to do the most basic actions right off the hop to get the hang of things. Cosmic Shake on the other hand did lock SpongeBob's attacks until you talk to Sandy, so that makes sense. It still feels weird, not gonna lie. Also, there's this super tiny feature in Cosmic that did not make the cut in Titans, and it's this little twirl animation when jumping right after slamming the ground. It's certainly a small detail in the grand scheme of things, but it just sucks that it got removed. So with all the negatives and nitpicks out of the way, let's get to the actual gameplay. The demo features two levels, the opening of the game split between SpongeBob and Patrick's sections, serving as the tutorial for both characters individually, and Goldfish Island. No, there are no goldfish crackers here, so don't ask. These two levels were playable in the Gamescom build of the game, but what's special about this build is that we got to explore the brand new hub world, known as the Floating Patty, our base of operations after the Flying Dutchman destroyed the Krusty Krab in the previous level, and it's how we travel to all the different locations in the game. Strangely, it kinda reminds me of Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier of all things. The Floating Patty is where we're introduced to the brand new character swapping mechanic. It took a bit of time to fully grasp the whole swapping mechanic, solely because of the aforementioned button placement, but by the end of the demo, I was swapping like a pro with even more of a sense of flow than Cosmic Shake had. One of the side missions, a Larry's surfing race, really puts this swapping mechanic to the test. Using the new surfboard, which is essentially a run button that also works above goo water, I was hopping off it, switching to Patrick to burrow, then back to SpongeBob for karate kicks for extended platforming and reaching the end within the time limit. Oh, it was so satisfying. As someone who loves speedrunning Sonic games, and the fact this kind of race reminds me of the ring races in Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 1, but amped up in difficulty and movement, I kept coming back again and again until I got it. Though, not gonna lie, I did lose sight of the final ring at some point cause they're see-through, but still, kind of embarrassing. But that's on me, because the stupid thing was right there in front of me. There were shockingly no enemies for me to test the swapping on, but if a tutorial Patrick level is anything to go by, where I was flowing like crazy, especially on that mini-boss, this is going to be one heck of a combat system, and probably the smoothest SpongeBob game I've played on just the movement perspective. In the hub world, we can find all sorts of familiar faces. Karen, Plankton, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, Pearl, and even Old Man Jenkins. I always loved hearing just what these characters got to say, though Plankton doesn't say much.
Move along, SpongeBob. Nothing to see here.
If I listened to my own motherboard, we would have moved out of Bikini Bottom ages ago.
Now this is the kind of advice that if someone tells you, you listen. If not, this happens. This place is almost entirely explorable with a lower guest area in the center that Squidward's complaining about the bed being made out of bags of forks.
Carefully. Don't bend me forks, Squidward.
My forks!
Besides, we need the proper cabins for the paying customers.
His cheapness knows no bounds, and I cannot help but love it. You can explore inside Mr. Krabs' office. There's nothing to do here.
I'm the manager of this establishment.
There's also the bathroom. Also nothing you can do here, even after coming back with a grapple move. But hey, at least you can explore the interiors again. The team knows people have wanted this feature back since Cosmic Shake, and they are listening. Though certain areas are going to require story progression and abilities not in the demo to reach, but what's here is already good, despite being the smallest hub world in a SpongeBob game. I was exploring every inch of this place. Pearl runs the shop for buying costumes. Okay, this is the second game in a row where she's a shopkeeper and both her stores have boutique in the name. Somebody at both these studios must share the same brain cell, cause that can't be up to chance. The shop can also be accessed from the pause menu, just like in Cosmic Shake, so you don't have to come back to Pearl if you don't want to. But doing so is required for story purposes. Wait, why is there a T-posing SpongeBob model when it's not actually there? What? Also, the costumes are more prone to clipping inside of cutscenes compared to Cosmic Shake, and I can now understand why Cosmic Shake did not allow for the custom costumes to be used in the cutscenes. But then again, this does come with the territory of doing that. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart also had this kind of issue, but it's not game-breaking. I will say though, I really like the references attached to these costumes. Blindbeard the Pirate and...
No, this is Patrick.
The game's brand new currency are doubloons, a nice callback to Revenge of a Flying Dutchman. These are, to my knowledge, only used to buy costumes, but I do hope there's other uses for them that weren't in the demo. Some costumes are locked behind certain side missions and then require additional coins to unlock them. I was able to play 4 of these side missions, and only 3 of them gave me a new costume. The first was patty grilling in the hub world, and if you enjoyed that little minigame in Cosmic Shake, this is already an improvement, because you have to make a certain amount of patties to make a certain amount of money. You can go over the limit so long as you don't strike out 3 times by burning patties, but there's actual difficulty here. I was basically in panic mode trying not to burn the patties. It was pretty satisfying. The second was Squidward's Art Workshop. This one did not give me a costume, just a bunch of coins. It's Squidward, what do you expect? But you are helping Squidward with his sculpture using both SpongeBob and Patrick's abilities. Something I did like in Cosmic Shake, where there's a sense of helping the community. But these treasure chests can also be found by doing certain things, like whacking all the tables, digging up all the coins, etc. Very BFBB-like, where you would get a sock for doing stuff like this. The third side mission was Mrs. Puff's trash collection. She got volunteered for community service. Oh, Mrs. Puff, you got caught again. What is up with this lady? Why is she so sus? What the heck did she do?
Don't ask questions you aren't prepared to handle the answer to.
This is the one recurring gag in the show I can't get enough of, that we'll never get the answer to, and I'm happy not knowing. Anyway, we gotta use Patrick's burrowing and the surfboard to clear out the trash. Nothing too complex. And finally, the aforementioned Larry mission. The fact we finally have side missions in levels that unlock during the same visit, instead of what Cosmic Shake did, and they had to be unlocked in completely separate visits. Not to mention this area feels more open and less linear, so you can tackle what missions you want to do in any order and explore to your heart's content. Heck, I randomly found a stone tiki and pedestal while doing said exploring. The pedestal returns for the first time since Rehydrated. They're the only ones in the entire demo, and I never thought I would be happy to see these again, considering the stone tikis were in Cosmic Shake, but I was. I also loved what they did with the Thunder Tikis, adding a brand new sound and a blast radius that's closer to BFBB's and not the incredibly wide one from Cosmic. This really does feel the closest to a modern Battle for Bikini Bottom a Purple Lamp game has felt. Even going as far as re-recording some of SpongeBob's lines from BFBB that he would say during the gameplay. Frenchie introducing every level like he would in BFBB, and yeah, there's no collectibles that block progression, but simply having the side missions be what unlocks costumes honestly feels way more rewarding than just finding the doubloons. And it gives these areas more of a purpose, instead of just funneling you in a straight line, doing simple fetch quests in Cosmic Shake. There's more variety here is what I'm saying, and that includes Patrick's moveset. I already talked a bunch about burrowing, but it can also be used to burrow underneath walls, making those areas only accessible to Patrick, attacking enemies on the way in and out of the ground, and if you hit anything that's not sand, it's basically a slam move. Patrick's ability to grab items feels a lot more polished. He can now jump while holding items, he can grab a lot more variety of items, small enemies can be grabbed without the rehydrated stunning process. Patrick is just really fun to play in this game. I actually found myself playing him more than SpongeBob. I got a hold of the grapple move, which allows Patrick to grab things from a distance, but as soon as I used it, I found out that's the literal end of the demo. So I had to restart the demo to test it, and it's pretty dang smooth. Just a few miscellaneous features before I head out. You can turn off SpongeBob's shoe squeak if you want. Not really sure why you'd want to do that, but okay. Dynamic jump is an interesting one, cause I had no idea what it even did until the game told me. Essentially, it's how it works in any other platformer. The longer you hold the button, the higher your jump is. Tapping it gives you a short hop. Turning this off, I guess, gives you the max height no matter what? I don't know, I didn't test it. Catching jellyfish is given its own dedicated animation, and they're much quicker to sting you now. No idea if there's a reason for collecting them. Doing so did count toward a trophy in Cosmic, so maybe that's it, I don't know. But it's still nice it's here. They did confirm Cassandra's coming back in the trailer for the demo. Though I did spot her name in the credits, and I wasn't going to mention anything in the video until they dropped this trailer. But honestly, that's great, because I really liked Cassandra in Cosmic Shake. For Purple Lamp's first original villain in the series, they did a pretty dang good job, and I would still like to see her in the show at some point. Though her being in Titans gives me a pretty general idea of what we're in for in the full release, and I cannot wait! Final thing I have to say coming out of this demo, this game just looks beautiful and feels chock full of more life compared to previous titles. Purple Lamp really know how to nail a 3D SpongeBob art style. Even when looking at the trailers for the rest of the game, it still looks very good and goes to show just how far they've come since Rehydrated. It feels like there's more NPCs, especially main characters, just hanging around more than they ever did in Cosmic Shake. Not just the alternate versions of them. There's this scam artist taking advantage of people looking for treasure.
Special offer of the day! Pay double, and we throw in a free tip on how to find the gold.
What a bargain! I'll take 2 of everything. I'm going to be rich.
Oh great, this nurse is back. How many times do I have to teach you not to push Mr. Krabs off a cliff? The demo felt dynamic, like the whole world could be interacted with. You can whack the coral, the trees, break certain things, and characters would react. Scaring a flock of clams, push up each chair into the water so nobody can sit on it, and even draw things in the sand. It really feels like the team took a bit of inspiration from Astrobot for an interactive world filled with life, and I'm curious to see how it's handled the rest of the game when it launches on November 18th. I walked away from this demo impressed with the writing, humor, animation, gameplay. Hopefully I'll be able to review the whole thing when it drops, so be sure to stay tuned for that and let me know down in the comments if you've played the demo and what you thought of it. And if you haven't, then what are you doing with your life? Go give it a try, it's awesome! Unless you're on the Switch 2, in that case, as of recording this video, there isn't a demo on there yet, but there is one being worked on. Now, if you decide to give it a try, be sure to use the links in the description below, and if you do enjoy enough to pre-order, it is only $40 for the standard editions, 10% off on Steam from now until launch. Definitely don't have to worry about breaking the bank for this one, and that is a W for this game. Once again, thanks to THQ Nordic for giving me early access to the demo, and thank you guys for tuning in and making this possible. I really appreciate it, and until next time, stay hydrated.